You're 11 years old when your father makes you hold the branding iron. The prisoner is a horse thief, bound to a wooden frame in the cellar beneath the castle. He's begging, not for release, but for speed. Your father's hand closes over yours, guiding the iron towards the man's shoulder, and you feel the resistance of flesh before you hear the sound. The hiss, the scream that starts human and ends as something else. The smell reaches you next. Pork and copper and something sweeter underneath, and your stomach lurches, but your father's grip does not allow you to pull away.
Watch,
He says.
this is your inheritance.
The man passes out. Your father takes the iron from your shaking hands and sets it back in the coals.
Again,
He says,
when he wakes.
You are the son of the town executioner in a walled city in Bavaria, and you've never had a choice about what you would become. Your family lives outside the walls. This is the law. Executioners are unclean, tainted by contact with death and suffering, and so you're forbidden from living among decent people. Your house sits beside the river where your father dumps the remains of his work. The water runs red on busy weeks, and the smell of rot clings to the air even in winter. Children from the town throw stones at you if you wander too close to the gates, and their parents do not stop them. Once, a baker refuses to sell your mother bread, spitting on the ground where she stands. You watch her walk home empty-handed, her face showing nothing, and you understand that shame is something you'll carry always, regardless of your actions. You learn early that you're hated for what you are, not what you've done. Your father teaches you the trade the way other fathers teach farming or blacksmithing, with repetition, correction, and patience. You learn the names of instruments, the strappado, the rack, the pear, the iron chair. You learn which joints separate most easily under pressure. You learn to read the body the way a physician does, understanding where pain lives and how to find it. By 14, you can dislocate a shoulder cleanly and reset it without permanent damage. This is important. A torturer who kills his subject before confession has failed. The art is in preservation, keeping them alive, keeping them conscious, keeping them just below the threshold where the mind escapes into darkness. Your father calls this mercy. You're not sure if he's wrong. At 16, you perform your first solo extraction. The prisoner is a woman accused of witchcraft, her eyes wild with terror, her wrists already raw from ropes that have held her for 3 days in a cell without light. The magistrate watches from a wooden chair in the corner, a clerk beside him recording every word, the scratch of his quill the only sound besides her breathing. You have rehearsed this. You know exactly what is required. Your father's not here. This is your test, your proof of competence. And your hands are slick with sweat inside your leather gloves. You begin with the boots, wooden shells that encase the legs from ankle to knee. The wood is stained dark from previous use, and it smells of old iron and something else. Something human. You insert the wedges slowly, one at a time, and each hammer strike compresses the wood inward. She screams immediately, before the pressure has even begun to cause real damage. This is fear, not pain. You recognize the difference now.
Confess,
The magistrate says.
name your accomplices.
She names her sister. She names her neighbor. She names women she's never met. Women whose faces she invents because you have not stopped hammering, and she will say anything to make it end. Her voice breaks into sounds that are no longer words. And still, the magistrate waits. And still, you continue. Because stopping requires permission that has not been given. You write nothing down. That is the clerk's duty. Yours is only to continue until the magistrate signals satisfaction. When it is finally over, you remove the boots and examine her legs. The bones are intact. She will walk again if she survives the trial. You have done your work correctly. That night, you vomit behind your house until nothing remains but bile. You tell yourself that this is weakness. You tell yourself it'll pass. It does pass. And that's the worst part. His name is Magistrate Volker, and he begins requesting you specifically when you're 19. This is unusual. Executioners are interchangeable in the eyes of the court. Tools, not craftsmen. But Volker has noticed something in your work, a precision he finds useful, and his favor elevates you in ways your father never achieved. He invites you to dine with him after sessions, an intimacy that would scandalize the town if anyone knew. You sit at his table and eat his food and listen to him explain the necessity of what you do together. Heresy is a disease, he says. Witchcraft is a cancer. You're surgeons removing corruption before it spreads. You want to believe him. Belief would make everything easier. But you've looked into the eyes of the people you break, and you've seen ordinary fear, ordinary confusion, ordinary desperation. You've never seen the devil looking back. You keep this observation to yourself. By 23, you've extracted confessions from 47 prisoners. You've executed 31 by sword, 14 by hanging, and 6 by fire. You've branded, maimed, and mutilated according to the sentences prescribed by law. Your hands no longer shake. Your stomach no longer rebels. You've become what your father promised you would become. Skilled, reliable, professional. You've also become wealthy. Executioners are paid well because no one else will do the work. You collect fees for each service: flogging, branding, breaking on the wheel. You sell the body parts of executed criminals to physicians and apothecaries, fat rendered into ointments, blood collected for remedies, skin tanned into leather for those who believe it holds power. The bones of hanged men fetch high prices from women who cannot conceive. You're hated, but you are needed. This gives you a kind of safety that ordinary people never have. You marry a woman named Margaret, the daughter of another executioner from a neighboring town. No one else would have either of you. She's quiet and practical, and she understands what you carry home beneath your fingernails without requiring explanation. This isn't love, but it is close enough. The accusation comes when you're 27. A prisoner named Klaus Brenner dies during questioning, not from your instruments, but from his own weak heart, which stopped between the second and third application of the strappado. This happens occasionally. Bodies fail. It's not your fault. But Klaus Brenner was the nephew of a guildmaster, and guildmasters have influence that your profession does not. Magistrate Volker calls you to its chamber, and his face tells you everything before he speaks. "There will be an inquiry," he says. "Questions about your methods, whether excessive force was applied." The man's heart failed. "I followed standard procedure." "I know." Volker does not look at you. "But someone must answer for this. The guild is demanding satisfaction." You understand immediately. You are the tool, and tools are disposable. The magistrate who ordered the interrogation will not be questioned. The system that condemned Brenner on insufficient evidence will not be examined. Only you, the hands that carried out what others commanded, will answer for the death. "What would you have me do?" Volker slides a document across the table. A confession. Your confession. To excessive cruelty. To sadistic pleasure in your work. To a pattern of unnecessary brutality that exists only in those words, written by someone who is not there, who has never held the instruments, who has never smelled what you've smelled. If you sign it, you will be stripped of your position, but spared execution. If you refuse, you will face the same instruments you've operated for 15 years. The irony is perfect and complete. You think of Margaret, pregnant now with your first child, her belly just beginning to show. You think of your father, dead for 3 years, who told you that this work was inheritance and protection, who never warned you that protection could be revoked. You think of 47 prisoners who signed confessions under your hands, each one a document filled with lies they told to make the pain stop. You understand them now. You finally understand. You sign. They take everything: your tools, your house by the river, your right to practice the trade your family held for generations. You're publicly flogged 20 lashes, administered by your own former apprentice, who learned from you how to strike without killing. And then you are banished from the territory. You leave with Margaret and the clothes on your back. Your back is still bleeding through the bandages when you cross the border into a neighboring duchy, where no one knows your name or your face or what you've done. You find work as a laborer, digging ditches and hauling stone. The pay is terrible. The work destroys your body in different ways than before. But no one looks at you with the particular hatred reserved for executioners. And there's relief in that. even as your hands crack and your muscles scream. Margarath gives birth to a son in a rented room above a tanner's shop. You hold him and wonder what inheritance you will leave him. Not tools, not techniques, not the knowledge of where pain lives in a human body. You decide you'll teach him nothing. You'll let him become whatever this place allows, unburdened by what you were. But the body remembers. At night, you dream of the cellar beneath the castle. You dream of faces, not the ones who screamed, but the ones who went silent, who retreated somewhere behind their eyes where you could not follow. You dream of the woman in the boots, the one who named her sister to make it stop. You learned later that her sister was burned. You don't know if the original woman survived. You wake with your hands clenched, fingernails cutting crescents into your palms. Margaret does not ask about the dreams. She already knows. Years pass, your son grows, you grow old. The duchy where you settled eventually hires its own executioner, and you see him once, walking through the market square with the particular posture of a man who knows he's being watched and hated. He's young, his hands are steady. He's not yet learned what the work costs. You could warn him. You could tell him what waits at the end of this road, the betrayal, the disposability, the way the system uses men like him and discards them when convenient. You say nothing. You turn away. You let him walk toward whatever he'll become. Some inheritances cannot be refused, only delayed. You die at 53, which is longer than most men in your trade. Your son buries you in a churchyard, a proper burial, in consecrated ground, something your father never received. The priest does not know what you are. Your son has never told him. The grave marker bears only your name and dates. No profession, no history, no record of the 47 or the 31 or the 14 or the 6. You're forgotten, which is the closest thing to forgiveness available to men like you. But the cellar still exists beneath the castle in Bavaria. The instruments still hang on their hooks, waiting for the next pair of hands. The magistrates still sit in their wooden chairs, recording confessions that everyone knows are lies. The system does not require you specifically. It only requires someone. And there's always someone willing to inherit what you left behind.